a ballot for anyone in the shadow cabinet there now, including, this goes without Suzanne, against Hastie, Jacinta in the middle, Matt Canavan, they would win in a landslide over any one of the people in the current cabinet.
That we serve an almighty God, and he commands us to care about the nation that we are in.
People need to be equipped on how to live out their faith in the public square.
Personal faith with Jesus is critical for your own health, but it's also critical for the national health.
They really tackle head-on all those really big issues no one wants to talk about.
You explained the difference, as you saw, between Aboriginal traditional religion and Christianity, saying they were incompatible. I actually tend to agree with you.
We're not hearing this stuff in our churches.
The most important thing we can do is to win souls for Jesus Christ.
They are cutting to the quick with the Word of God.
The second most important thing is to make sure we can still do the first thing.
G'day and welcome to the Church and State Show. I'm Dave Pellowe, your host, founder and presenter, interviewer. Today I'm sitting down having a conversation with Graeme Haycroft. Graeme Haycroft has got some ideas on how to save Australia, and that's the topic, the series that we're in at the moment, asking important thinkers and other people in Australia exactly what are their big ideas. How can we save this nation? How can we save the institutions? And how can we arrest the lurch to the left, which the nation and so many of our captured institutions are making towards humanism, godless paganism, away from conservatism and common sense, away from courage and convictions, and just heading towards whatever compromise will help keep them in power just a little bit longer? How do we empower the average Australian again to be better represented and more influential in being represented? That is the theory of democracy, but it's not actually how it's really ever worked in many places at all. We just get as close as we can. But Graeme Haycroft, like me, believes not only that the Liberal Party must be saved, but that it can be saved. He's identified some areas that need reformation and is working on a strategy to effect that change. And so it's my pleasure to welcome to the Church and State Show now, Graeme Haycroft. Graeme, welcome to the Church and State Show.
Thank you, David.
Well, let me put the question to you, nice and brief. Give me the broad picture. How do we save Australia?
Well, to save Australia, you need to have an effective political party which represents the majority of the people in the country. And I would argue, and there's good proof to support this, that the conservative side of the country and the conservative side of politics is actually quite a considerable majority. We saw this in The Voice. The constituency that, in a normal election isn't quite the same as The Voice, but it's in the same order. It's a clear majority. And so if we do that, what have we got to do to get, if you like, conservatism or conservative politics going when it's in a lot of trouble at present? And our simple view is, or my simple view is, having been a member for 45 years and watched all the processes going on, the problem isn't the people. Everyone's talking about, we've got to get someone better, you can replace her and replace him, but that is not the problem. The core problem are the rules. The rules establish how an institution works, and the rules have allowed, in my view, the sort of people who tend to want to go to the left, in other words, the progressive, moderate, they're known as moderates, which is a rather, let's just call them progressives. They want change. They want to move over towards the Labor Party side of politics because they think that that's where the votes are. And they're sort of dragging across the political debate, whereas their supporters and the majority of Australians are still over to the right. So, and we're seeing this with One Nation, fantastic growth in their in their support and their numbers. There's people leaving the Liberal Party, moving across. So yes, we haven't worked out what can be done.
I think you're absolutely right. I lament at the tone deafness of the people who do the reviews of Liberal Party performance after every election failure, that they inevitably conclude, there was too much influence from the Christians and Conservatives. We've become too Trumpian, and we have to be a lot more worried about climate change and inclusion and all other words for becoming more like the Greens. Instead of more like the Liberal Party of Menzies. But you've named two really good examples where this analysis is just willfully ignorant of the fact that the majority of Australians were overwhelmingly persuaded to take a conservative position on changing the Constitution. And the increasing rise of One Nation concurrent with the demise of the Liberal Party in polling, says that elections are there to be won when fought well with conviction and clear articulation for conservative causes. So the problem with the Liberal Party isn't the membership, but the rules of the Liberal Party, which effectively silence and disempower the members. How does that actually work? How are the rules disempowering members at the moment?
Well, it's the delegate system. The Liberal Party all around Australia, almost every state has got the same problem. What has happened is the rules have been gamed to artificially inflate the delegateship of certain people with, if you like, with minority views. In Queensland, it's classic. The women's section and the young LNP, they have a greater delegate entitlement for far fewer peoples than delegates that come from other parts of the party. And what's happened, and full marks to Senator McGrath for doing this. He's a smart guy. And I got to tell you, we exist only because of him. He's the only guy that ever came out to support us when we needed it. But he's a smart fellow, and he's worked out the rules can be, I use the term game, but not in any derogatory sense. He's worked out you can get more delegates with fewer people in the women's section and in the young LNP. And he's just gone ahead and assiduously done that. And he has his little tribe of staffers who are part of a tribe. You need a couple of things. One, you need a relatively small member base for this to work. You know, the LNP in Queensland had 75,000 members. Nothing anyone can do can rig that or game it. It's too big. And that ultimately is the solution we want to see. You know, if you've got a small group and they're gaming the rules to get results, and we saw this quite openly 2 weeks ago at the
Graham. Forgive me for interrupting. I want to just take a moment and pause and really feel the weight of what you just said. I think we glossed across it too quick. When did the Liberal National Party coalition in Queensland have 75,000 members? How long ago was that? It never has. But okay. You were saying hypothetically.
Yes, 1%. I mean, Menzies had 60,000 members when the population was 6 million. That's 1%.
Yes.
That's about the magic number, right? At present,
so what you're saying, I wasn't quite following, but what you were saying was if there was 75,000, it would be impossible to rig. And the system is currently rigged, not illegally or outside the laws. But the laws rig the system, and I get that. That's how our Senate voting system has become disadvantageous to minor parties since the 2016 reforms. But we won't go there. But essentially, people participating fully is how you solve the rig.
The institutions don't have values. They don't have feelings. They're just words on lots of bits of paper. They're just words. How they're interpreted, people have values, but institutions and constitutions don't. They're just words. And the words are there, and all you can do at law is a set of words on the paper is to follow them. Now, the fact is that all the other states have got a similar problem. It's not the women's section and the young Liberal problem is fairly specific to Queensland. The other states have got different sort of, if you like, delegate type rules, which have all been gamed. In Victoria, God save them, they have decided because some of the numbers in the state electorates were getting so low, they decided that they would, in the pre-selection, they would top them up with another 25, I think another 25 people could come in from other electorates to help make sure that there was a balanced, a balanced debate and the result would reflect, more fully or whatever. But who selects the 25 people coming from other areas? The ruling clique, if you can call it that. So every state's got their own little gamey bits and pieces, all of which have really got to go. It all has to end. And the way you end it is you have one vote, one value. The members must do everything. The members must elect the politicians, which largely they do in most of the states. But it's very difficult. We need to have competitive pre-selections as well. But you also have to have the election of the senators, which is the problem in Queensland, because it's easy not easy, it takes a lot of work, but you can game those results. And we saw that actually 2 weeks ago. I quickly must just tell you this. There was an election for Small Business Policy Committee chairman, and there are 8 nominations. And one of them, David Goodwin, who would arguably be the best qualified Small Business Policy Committee chairman in any political party anywhere in the world. Another very good candidate in the Sunshine Coast, Lynn McCready. They were just standouts. The person who won was a staffer in the Brisbane City Council. Never been in business at all. So what happened was that the McGrath army, and good luck to them, they were able to get up someone totally unqualified to be in terms of experience anyway, he may be a brilliant person, and that gave him another delegate in the pre-selection. So you get this sort of gaming, and what we've got to change, there's no criticism of James McGrath, he's a good guy. The problem is the rules. We just change the rules. That's what we have to do. That's what we're about.
How would you change the rules? Do you think the chairs of policy committees shouldn't get a vote?
No, they should get vote on one vote, one. Everything should be one vote, one value. What's happened in the past? Well-meaning people have said we must bolster the women's section. We must bolster the young Liberals. Once in the old National Party, the policy committee chairman, and I was one for a long, long time, because we weren't actually selected by vote, if you like. We had speaking rights at the conventions, but we were never able to vote in pre-selections, which I was very happy with, because I always felt that should be only the people who were actually elected to that position. So these things were all done with all the best intent, but they've now, in the fullness of time, we've seen that they are having quite the opposite effect of what they were originally designed to have. So we have to change it. There's a constitutional convention next year for the LNP in Queensland, where all these matters are being discussed. We've set up this Liberal Reform Association because I was not confident that the internal discussions would be as open as they needed to be. And we just set up a parallel communication exercise. We're not an advanced Australia. We're just simply, we want the Constitution changed. We want to promote debate about it. And hopefully when it gets there, there'll be enough delegates who will see the light and just accept the simple reforms to stop all of this gaming of pre-selections. Members must vote for all parliamentarians and all council candidates should all be selected by the members. The specific one, the members specific to wherever they elect. So, if I live in Mooloolaba, I should be pre-selecting, the local state council member, which is Fiona Simpson. I'm in her electorate. I should be responsible for pre-selecting her, as are all the other members. And anyone outside, no. They're in a different electorate. They're involved with pre-selecting there.
Are outsiders currently empowered to vote in the Mooloolaba electorate for the state member?
No, there's no problems. This is really this. There are a number of problems with the LNP system, but that isn't one of them. Right? The system is fairly good. What we want to do, though, is get the Senate stuff sorted out. But most importantly, we want to have a la the Canadian system, whereby the members of the party at large will vote for the parliamentary leader.
I like this idea, but I want to make sure the listeners understand how it currently works. So there's no problem with, you're saying there's no problem with the system to elect state MPs, candidates at the moment, but the system to elect federal senators is not currently decided by the members of the party across the state, because a senator represents the whole state as their electorate. And there's 6 up for election across the state at any one time. And the major parties have a chance of getting between 2 and 4 out of the 6 representing the whole state. So typically a party will have 4 to 6 candidates for that federal election Senate ballot. How are those senators or candidates for Senate currently chosen in the Liberal National Party of Queensland? Right.
Well, they're chosen by the delegates to a body called the State Council, which is largely, the delegates largely come from, if you like, the party units, which would be like the State Electorate Council, the federal, divisional councils. They have an entitlement to send so many delegates. The policy committee chairman are delegates, and we saw 2 weekends ago how a well-organised group can get someone who is going to support, presumably, Senator McGrath, and that's fine. And that's what happens, and there's a disproportionate number of representatives from the women's section have delegateship in there, and from...
Now, what do you mean by disproportionate? So a branch can send how many delegates? Like an SEC, a State Electorate Council branch, a state branch or a federal branch, how many delegates can they typically send?
I'm not sure the exact numbers, but effectively, a State Electorate Council would probably send 3, I think. Don't hold me to that. It's about that. But you've got the situation where, for the number of members involved, a disproportionate proportion, if you like, can come from the women's section, and certainly from, the young LNP. They, in terms of their actual overall numbers, they get a disproportionate delegateship.
Yeah. So let me try and illustrate the disproportion as I understand it, and you can please correct me if I'm wrong. If there's, and I'll just pick a number, if there's 5,000 members of the LNP across the state, and 50 people get to go to state council, just hypothetically as an example, that's 50 out of 5,000. That's essentially 1 in 10.
It's about 350. It's about 350.
But just hypothetically, just work with me on the hypothetical. But what you're saying is the women's branches and the young LNP branches, because they get to send a bunch of delegates from a much smaller pool, that effectively they're getting a much higher concentration or a much smaller number of people is getting undue influence on the process by still having a significant number of delegates. Have I got that roughly right, or would you explain it better?
Roughly. That's roughly. No, it hasn't been much of a problem before because no one really bothered about doing it.
About rigging it, about using the rig. Yeah.
No, he's to be congratulated. Unlike a lot of his colleagues, he actually studies rules, and it's handy to have those sort of people in the political process, I can tell you.
Well, this is the difference between... I think there's an important difference between the word rigging
It's not rigged.
and corruption. There's no corruption here because the rules haven't been broken. So, for example, media can rig elections by giving 100% negative attention to one party and 100% positive attention to another party. It's not illegal, but it is changing. It is putting your thumbs on the scale instead of letting representation happen more organically. And so, by using the rules of the LNP delegate system, you're saying the thumbs have been put on the scale, and therefore the system, we need a solution.
That's right. Yes, there's no rigging. It's not rigging. It's just assiduous. The rules weren't designed for that effect. But rules in an institution don't have feelings. They don't have judgments. They're just words.
I think the rules are the rig, but that's just my choice of words.
That's it, yeah. The rules allow things to happen which they didn't think was going to happen. So you change the rules. That's how you fix it. You don't complain about the people doing it. You say, right, those rules weren't designed for that. We're going to change those rules. And that's
exactly what they did in 2016. The Malcolm Turnbull government looked at the 2013 election where Ricky Muir from the Motoring Enthusiasts Party got elected with an extraordinary flow of minor party preferences, care of the way the system used to work. And they said, we don't like this anymore. The system is rigged against the major parties, giving minor parties undue influence, which they didn't like. And so they changed the rules. They simply rigged the Senate election in another way because the rules weren't working in the way they wanted them to. So that's essentially what you're proposing now. We need to change the constitution of the parties to make sure the members are better represented and have a more democratic influence.
Yes, that's all it is. In fact, talking about that Senate stuff, I remember Senator McGrath talking to us, and he had grave doubts about the system, in particular, because he said the whole plan for it came from the Greens. And Turnbull, of course, accepted it. Well, that's Mr. Turnbull. Every state has its own version of what Queensland's doing.
Yep.
Right? There are different delegateship rules in each state, and the people in every state have found ways to game them, if you like.
Yep.
And that's why the membership of the party Australia-wide is 25,000 when it should be 250,000.
Yeah.
So we're just proposing the rule changes aren't that great. The first thing you do is we have to get rid of the delegate system because it's impossible to explain to anybody. Even the people in the party. I mean, I've been in it for 45 years. I don't really know how many delegates come from, the state council come from each state electorate. But I think it's 3, it might be 4.
Well, what you're saying makes perfect sense. I mean, we've spent an enormous amount of time trying to explain it right now in this interview. What you're proposing is that every member across the state gets a vote to choose who the party leaders will be, both in the institutional branch, the bureaucratic branch, the headquarters, as well as in the parliament. So now, I love the idea of everybody in the state choosing the party leader for the state and every party member in the nation choosing who our Prime Minister will be. I think that is fantastic.
Well, it's really simple. It's worked fabulously in Canada. They've got 40 million population. They have nearly 800,000 people in the Conservative Party. So they had an implosion 20 years ago. They went from 180 seats to 2, I think. It was then called the Progressive Conservative Party. They were all things to nobody, right, as it turned out. And they said, can the progressive side, and they've sort of slowly over the years worked up. They haven't. They have been in. Trudeau got in, but it's been particularly effective in the provinces. The Conservatives, certainly in the entire west of Canada, those provinces have been Conservative for a very long time. And I can tell you they will remain Conservative for a very long time too. And what's happening is that the Liberal Party over there, which is like the left-wing party, The term liberal in Australia was used by Menzies in a way that was a little bit different from everywhere else. But what's happened in Canada is that the left-wing party has moved across about 45 degrees to the right. And so that's a good thing for the country. Yeah. I mean, it would still be probably to the left of the Labor Party here, but they have moved a long way. They were very, very socialist, and they've now realised that is a disaster. And they've got the same problems as us, untrammeled immigration, young people can't buy houses, same.
Graeme, I think if the question is to how to save Australia, saving the Liberal Party would have to be one of the closest things to a silver bullet there is. If we can get a true fighter, a true gladiator in a major party, and I don't mean a person, but the party as a party, if we can get a party to truly go to the line on behalf of common sense, on behalf of conservatives and Christians, those people who really are in the majority, but without a persuasive leader or argument to rally behind, if we can empower those people to have representation in a major party, and I think this is just a brilliant way of changing the rules to better democratise the Liberal Party, then I think we're well and truly on the track. Tell me, in just the last few minutes we have, what's the prospects for success in putting this to a constitutional change at a constitutional convention?
Well, it's in my view very high. There is enormous support for it, enormous support. But getting Australia-wide is going to be difficult, but we're going to do that too. They've all got essentially the same problem, and there is a yearning for it. I mean, let's just have a look at the election of the leader of the federal party. Now, if there was a ballot for anyone in the, if you like, in the top echelons of the shadow cabinet there now, including, this goes with that, Suzanne, against, I'll give you the names: Hastie, Jacinta in the middle, Matt Canavan, Barnaby's actually a leader, and Antic, and throw in Tony Abbott, because under the Canadian system, which we all adopt, they don't have to be in the parliament anyway. We chose Campbell Newman wasn't in the parliament. Gorton wasn't in the lower house when he was elected leader. They would win in a landslide over any one of the people in the current cabinet. At present, the leader of the party is chosen by the colleagues, and they have a different view. The members just want the best person who. And when I'm voting for them and you're voting for them, we're not worried about whether we're going to get a good cabinet spot, right?
Yeah.
We only want to know, can this guy or gal lead? That's it. Yeah. And that's the change, and that'll dramatically change. People, so you pay to be a member, you pay $20. You get to decide who your local councillor is going to be, or the candidate, who your local state member is, who your local federal member is, who your senator is, and who's going to be the leader of the party. Parties in state and federal and in the local council. Not bad for $20.
Yeah,
and
that's brilliant.
We'll get 300,000 people in 12 months.
So how can people throw their weight, their interest, get more information? How can they get behind you and this idea to reform the Liberal Party, Graeme?
Yeah, well, we need numbers. We've set up the Liberal Reform Association. You can join. If you're an existing member of the Liberal Party, it's free. And when we get things organised a bit better, President's free for everybody, so move quickly. But we're going to charge everyone else $20 because we've got some administrative costs. There's a lot of battles that have to be won, but they're mainly administrative things. We just need to get people on the ground, to lobby and move them and get them into meetings so that we can get the stuff moving. So that's what we're doing, Australia-wide. So people watching interstate, get in touch with us because we're going to set up basically divisions in each state. It's reclaimthedream.com.au because we want to reclaim the dream. We're old, but we need young people to get in and do it. Just Liberal Reform Association. If you Google that, it comes up.
Okay. The Liberal Reform Association at the website reclaimthedream.com.au. Currently free for everybody in Australia, and a system will be put in place soon to charge non-Liberal Party members a $20 fee to help cover administration costs. Of course, nothing stopping you donating at any particular time.
Correct.
I'm a big fan in empowering the Church and State viewers and members to be effective and to do more to actually change. One of the important things is that you actually need to be informed. You need to be organised and coordinated and told where the fight is. And to then bring your own conscience and questions to the things that you want to throw your support behind as a member or a donor or a voter. And so this is a really great source of information. Obviously, the rules need fixing. I think it's a fantastic idea for every single member of the party to get to choose the party leader. We've had terrible leadership for decades in the Liberal Party. It's a chronic problem. And here's a really great way of letting the people choose. The MPs have chosen pathetic leaders for career reasons for far too long. And I think, frankly, they should be disqualified from having any more weight to their vote than every other member of the Liberal Party or the National Party. It's about time we got some people with backbone. Graeme, your point that Hasty or Price or Antic would beat Susan Ley in a hot minute if the vote were put to the whole membership base really proves the point that the current system is not fit for purpose. So I endorse this group to everybody watching, ask you to jump on their mailing list, become a member, throw your 2 cents in for whatever consideration it is. Let's continue this conversation. Graeme, thank you so much for this awesome strategy on how to save Australia.
Well, thanks very much. I just want to say one quick thing. Not only do the members get to choose, only the members can get rid of. So what happened to Tony Abbott can't happen ever again.
Perfect.
The parliamentarians can trigger it, but the members would have to vote him out.
I love it. I love that.
We love it.
That one thing alone would have Australia in a much better position today than we are. So I think this is a reform whose time is not just come, but is well overdue. Graeme, thank you again.
Pleasure.
Well, thank you for watching the Church and State Show. I'm the founder and host, Dave Pellowe, and let me invite you to become a supporter. If you're not on our mailing list, please go to churchandstate.com.au and sign up to the mailing list there. If you're not a financial supporter, please consider giving $5, $10, $20 or more every month, or maybe a more generous amount once off to help us continue the important work we do, which is so much more than just this podcast. We are equipping Gen Z, under 30s, with political discipleship, actually teaching them about debated issues, how to participate in those debates, and actually how to participate in the democratic process in Australia so that we can have better representation, better government. And the most important thing is, of course, to win souls for Jesus Christ. But the second most important thing, as Charlie Kirk used to say frequently, is to make sure we can do the first thing. And that's talking about a good, democratic, free nation in which a contest of ideas and open communication is not just legal, but encouraged for every single person. We can't continue to sit idly on the sidelines. So I thank you, viewers and supporters, for everything you are doing to keep this mission going forward. That's it, and I'll see you in the next episode.